So, we're going to talk about an issue near and dear to my heart as somebody who's constantly afflicted by this serious woe. Pretty privilege. A woman recently went viral on TikTok for complaining about just how hard life can be as a beautiful person. I found a lot to relate to in this video. Take a listen to this one, guys.
I'm fully prepared for TikTok to hate me. I can see it now. Y'all are going to be like, oh, F you, being pretty is so hard. Hear me out. Pretty privilege is a thing. I'm not here to deny that. So too, it comes with disadvantages. I've never once been in a job where I haven't been harassed. I've rarely been in social situations where I haven't been harassed. People do not usually take no for an answer with me because they think that I'm something to be possessed. People do not ask before touching me in public. I am grabbed regularly. I've been assaulted by a stranger. And I was once passed up on for a business opportunity because they said that I was too young and beautiful, and they thought that that would be distracting to the other people in the industry. True story. I am treated differently, and it is night and day from when I go out in public in a mask, in raggedy, oversized clothes, and looking like I am right now. When I look raggedy, people don't touch me. They don't feel entitled to me. So not always a privilege.
So, Hannah, what can I say? It's just really hard to be beautiful.
I mean, I know this is something that you struggle with regularly, Brad. You and I talk about it pretty frequently, and it's a real hindrance in your life. So I'm glad that you are finding a community of solidarity to share this experience with, and I'm glad that you're going to use this platform to talk about the barriers that you face as a pretty person. No, I've actually, I wanted to hate this clip, and then I didn't hate it. I thought she had some good points, but I don't know. I think the concept of pretty privilege is really interesting because I certainly think it exists. And I think that we've researched it, right? Like it's not even something that's mentally people are choosing to do. There are actual biological, evolutionary reasons your brain is more likely to trust people who are attractive. You are more likely to go into business with them, to be nice to them, to hold doors open for them. On and on it goes. And then you also have the societal things where, we're more likely to think people who are pretty are smarter, or are people that, have higher ethics, whatever the case. And we're more inclined to think people who are overweight or who have, some kind of, or just not put together, don't bring as much to the table or aren't as smart or somehow don't deserve as much in life. And so I don't mind us talking about pretty privilege because I think it's always good to be self-aware of how little control you have over your brain, which is a fascinating subject to me. I used to be a big believer in the concept of free will. I don't really believe it anymore. I think our brains are running off without us and we don't even know it half the time. So I love talking about this. And I will say, I experienced the opposite a few years ago. So when I was in my late 20s, I was still working in nonprofit organizing, didn't have my money up, and I was, just starting to age a little bit and had gained a little weight. And I remember the exact moment I was walking through the Detroit airport. I was traveling for work and it hit me oh my God, I'm losing my looks. And it wasn't because anybody did anything to me. No one was mean to me. Nobody said anything. Nothing happened. It was the absence all of a sudden that I noticed throughout the day of people not going above and beyond for me. No one had offered to carry my bag to the front desk. No one had been giving me a free drink at the airport bar, just little things like that I was so accustomed to getting that all of a sudden I was wait a second, nobody's doing these things for me. I'm losing my looks. Oh my God. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks, how terrifying it would be all of a sudden to be old, right? Because, especially as a woman, society continues to devalue you as you age. And I was I just all of a sudden got hit with my own mortality and was oh my God, what's it going to be like when I'm 70 years old? Is everyone just going to ignore me? And it's the sad truth is we kind of do as a society. We certainly stop treating people the same. So I will say I think pretty privilege is a real thing. The examples she brings up, I think, are accurate. I do think, especially for women, the amount of times people just touch you in public when you don't want to be touched, the sexual harassment at work, even I think often for me, especially being in the two career paths that I chose, but which were pretty heavily male dominated, both music and politics, there was a lot of times I felt like I wasn't taken seriously or given the credibility I should have been in my profession because I was a young woman who was attractive, and people just assumed I wasn't as smart, or people have often assumed oh, you just got your career because you're pretty or because your daddy helped you or things like that. So there are some downsides, but I don't think the downsides to being pretty in any way outweigh the immense privileges and upside to it.
Yeah, I think the idea of privilege in being good looking is obviously kind of true. I mean, it's like documented that people just even it's not a sexual thing, because even like a man who's heterosexual statistically has been shown to just like or be more open to a man who is good looking in terms of friendship, business, anything. There's a bias there, just human bias. But I don't think that's entirely beyond our control, because some of it's natural looks, but some of it's also presentation and how well you keep yourself up. Are you fit? Are you well put together? And then this idea, obviously for everything, there's privileges to it and there's downsides to it. The downsides she lists, I think, are a little far-fetched, some of them. Like to say, I've always been harassed or anything. I think that happens to women who aren't traditionally pretty almost just as much, because a lot of predatory behavior is not actually rooted in like sex as much as it is like power and crossing lines and things. So I don't know that that's actually relevant to being pretty or not being pretty. And so I do believe there are some downsides. Like, for example, the pretty girl in school never gets asked out because all the boys are too intimidated. Like, or other girls sometimes don't want to be friends with girls who are really gorgeous.
Yeah.
There's valid downsides here, but I thought she was maybe overselling them a little bit. And I agree with you. The downsides definitely don't outweigh the upsides, because I certainly wouldn't change my gorgeous good looks if I had the opportunity. No, I'm kidding, but...
No,
you and I have said this before. To do what we do, to be on TV, to be influencers, cringe word, but whatever, in social media, you have to be at least a 7.
Yeah, well, you also have to, like, be very confident in your looks. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know this, like, nothing gets under the skin of my haters faster than the fact that I like how I look. Like, it drives them insane. But, like, I really don't care. There's nothing somebody could say to me online that would make me be like, oh, I'm ugly, I guess. Or, like, I'm undesirable.
Yeah, no,
like,
people insult my looks. So... They'll be like, your ears, your eyes, blah, blah, blah. And I just don't care, because, like, I know I'm a decent enough looking guy, and I also know that's not really my main value add anyway, so... Yeah. It just doesn't really get to me. And it's never a hot person insulting your looks online. It's always an uggo, because they're projecting their own insecurities.
Yeah, because it's like their biggest fear is to not be found attractive, and they're just projecting on you. And I'm like, I first and foremost don't care if you find me attractive, like, whatsoever. I'd actually prefer if you don't and leave me alone. But secondarily, like, it's never been a problem in my life not being able to get any man I wanted, not being able to, like, get the positions in society I want. Like, I'm good. So keep your hate, don't care, keep it moving. But yeah, I don't know. I think this is an interesting concept. And again, I think it's really important for us to be mindful of how we treat people and mindful of our own subjective biases. So hopefully we can work to overcome them and treat everybody equally well and get rid of our brain's ridiculous stereotyping mechanism.